Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alex from Swoosh English, and welcome to today's OET class, where we'll be focusing on reading skills. Specifically, we'll be focusing on the skill of detecting meaning from context. So I hope you find this class useful, and I look forward to lots of participation for the people who are watching the class live today. So before I get into the class, a big welcome to everyone who is here. Just having a look at some of the people who are here. We've got in the class, we've got Jano, we've got Nonye in the class, Florette, Jose, Mari, Jaya as well, and Sham and Anita and Somil. So hello to all of you today. Wherever you are, I can see that there are people here from all over the world. We've got Jaya, who's from India. So hello to you, and Somil says good evening. So obviously it's a bit later where you are here. I'm in the UK, and it's currently 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So hello to all of you here who are watching the class live in Zoom. Hello to Nilu as well, and Venkatesh, and Jano, hi to you as well. I hope things are nice in the Philippines. I've never been, but I would like to visit. Hello to you, Hiral, as well. And also I'd like to welcome everyone who is watching on Facebook too. So to Josmi, Maud, and Nadia, and Al as well. Ali, hello to all of you as well on Facebook. So there are multiple avenues through which you can participate in this class, and I'll be looking at all of the comments both in the chat on the Zoom link and also as well on the Facebook comments page. So there's plenty of opportunity to get involved in the class today. So we've still got people who are joining. We've got Rafia, Faiz, Bridget as well, Ali from the USA, Saeed, Haziel as well. So hello to all of you. Venkatesh is saying, I only wanted writing coaching. We're not actually going to focus on writing in today's class, Venkatesh. We're going to look at reading skills. So that is going to be the focus today. There will be, I'm sure, future classes where we will look at writing and the written skill. So again, a warm welcome to everyone who is here. So I want to begin then by introducing the topic of today's class. As I said before, what we're going to be looking at is reading skills, and it is the skill of detecting meaning from context. So to start with, what do you understand by this? Detecting meaning from context. What do you think this means, and how do you think that this is relevant to the OET exam? So let me know in the chat what you think. It's quite a long phrase, isn't it? Detecting meaning from context. So what do you understand this to mean? I look forward to seeing your responses. So let's see some ideas and what you understand by this phrase. So Marie says it's understanding what they are asking. Okay, the general idea from the text, says Sham. Maria says also it's getting the key facts from the passage. And Jose talks about a better understanding of the thought. Atiya says hello. Hello to you, Atiya. Ali, interpreting the purpose. Okay, that's a good response. Bridget, deriving gist from the text. Florette, about what the whole text is about. Venkatesh talks about paraphrasing. Haziel, you may not be sure what's the meaning of the word, but from the use of it, you get what it means. That's a very good response there, Haziel. That is actually a pretty good summary of what detecting meaning from context actually means. Okay. Ratna says good afternoon. Good afternoon to you as well, Ratna. Let's just have a quick look in Facebook just to see some of the comments which are being written here. So Kapatilwe says the meaning from the passage. Deepti talks about synonyms. Anita says hello. Hello to you, Anita. And hello to Kapatilwe as well. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. There, okay. And Naja talks about overall meaning as well. So we've got a few different responses here. There were some responses which were looking at overall meaning. Actually, when we talk about detecting meaning from context, we're not talking about the overall meaning of the passage. So we're not talking about sort of global reading skills. We're talking about something more specific here. So I'm going to repeat what Haziel said again, because it was actually very well communicated in terms of detecting meaning from context. So just to repeat, she said that you may not be sure what the meaning of the word is, but from the use of it, you get what it means. So that's where the context comes in. You're looking at the way that a word is written in a particular context. So you're looking at the other words that are written around that word. You're looking at the wider sentence, even sometimes the sentence that comes before or the sentence that comes after. And you're looking at all this information in the text to help you make sense of words or phrases which you actually may not know the meaning of. So the next question then that I asked, Haziel, hi. I was thinking Hazel, because Hazel in the UK would be a feminine name, but in a world where gender is fluid, I hope you're not too offended, but it's Haziel. Okay, so in the context of the OET, what do you think detecting meaning from context, what role would detecting from meaning from context play in the OET reading section? How would it help to do this? Can you think of specific sections, whether it be sort of part A, part B, part C, where detecting meaning from context will be useful, or even sort of more generally, do you think it's something which will be useful with all the sections? What do you reckon? Okay, so Bridget is saying part C. Why? And also Jano says part C as well. Mari is saying sort of more generally that detecting meaning from context can be useful. Venkatesh also says part C. So part C is coming up a lot here. Jose says to zero in on section A, B, and C. Just looking at Facebook as well. Mod says part C. And also we've got Nonye who's saying part C as well. So yeah, a lot of you are saying part C. So absolutely. Part C is has specific questions which require you to detect the meaning of an unknown word or phrase from context. So there's going to be, in part C for the reading, you have 16 questions, 8 questions for 2 separate texts, and one of those questions for text 1 and another one of the questions for text 2 will specifically require you to detect the meaning of an unknown word or phrase from context. So that is in part C. However, detecting the meaning of unknown words and phrases from context is something which is actually a general reading skill which is useful, and it can be useful for all of the sections of the exam, because there could be words that come up in parts A, B, or C where you may not know the word, but if you're able to use contextual clues, it can help you work out that word. And it might be an important skill to use, because it might be just understanding that one word can actually help you to answer the question. So for section B, for example, you're not sure about A, B, or C. There's a key word in there. Even if you don't know the exact meaning of the word, if you can use the context, then it can be helpful to you. So don't worry, Marie, we're going to look at examples in the class, but this is just the introduction. Okay, so let's have a look then at detecting meaning from context. I'm just going to share with you now some ideas here and some ways in which we can develop this skill in order to improve our reading. So in this class then, we're going to focus on strategies related to the detecting of meaning from context questions for reading part C. So specifically, there is reading part C, but also, as I say, you can use these skills to help you in parts A and B as well, if there are words which you don't know the meaning of, but they're important to understand. We can use contextual clues to help us in reading in general. But the specific questions where you need to do it are in part C. So the first thing that I want us to look at then is working out the function of the word. So when we talk about function, this involves a certain understanding of grammar. So if you're pretty good when it comes to grammar, then you're going to be able to do this quite easily. If you're not sort of so grammatically minded, then it takes a little bit more practice. But here is a way that we can sort of begin to approach this. So when trying to work out the meaning of an unfamiliar word or phrase, the first thing we need to do is to try to relate it to the wider sentence. One way of doing this is to try to detect its function. For example, is it operating as a subject or an object? So is it the subject? Is it doing something, or is it receiving something if it's the object? Or looking at the grammatical class, is it a verb, or is it a noun, or is it a complement, for example? So let's have a look at an example specifically here from a sentence in an OET practice test, where we have to work out the meaning of the phrase by no means the be-all and end-all. So the actual sentence that is used, it says, but adenosine levels are by no means the be-all and end-all of sleep deprivation's effects on the brain or the body. So the first thing we want to work out here then is, okay, so by no means the be-all and end-all, what function is this playing within that particular sentence? So we have a typical clause structure here, which is subject, verb, object. Adenosine levels is your subject. R is the verb. And by no means the be-all and end-all is the object of that sentence. It all comes after the verb, and it is in some way describing the subject, isn't it? Or it's, in this case, because it's a negative sentence, it's not describing the subject. So in this case then, because we can see this as being the object of the sentence, it's very likely to be a noun phrase of some sort. Most objects will be in sentences. So now we can look at by no means the be-all and end-all as a form of noun phrase which relates to adenosine levels effects on the brain or the body. So it does seem a bit grammatical, and as I say, depending on how strong you are with your grammar, you're going to find this easier or more difficult, but it's just isolating this kind of within that particular clause. So you've got adenosine levels is the subject, R in this case is your verb, and then you've got by no means the be-all and end-all. So obviously this is relating to adenosine levels. It's in some way providing more information about adenosine levels. So that's what we can do first of all. Look at the wider context, try and work out what's the function of the phrase within that context in order to try and make sense of it. So that's the first step. The second step is to work out, is it positive or is it negative? And again, we can look at this within the individual phrase. So what we have here is the fact that it says it's by no means the be-all and end-all. So this is a crucial question, because if you misunderstand whether the phrase is positive or negative, then it can give us a very different impression of its meaning. So let's have a look at another example just to illustrate this. In the sentence, sleeping tablets will prove effective, that's a very different sentence, and it has a very different meaning to the sentence, sleeping tablets will prove ineffective. So we have to understand the role of negation here. Okay, obviously effective has the opposite meaning to ineffective. So if we look at the phrase now, by no means the be-all and end-all, we have the word no, which is the most common way of expressing negation in relation to a noun phrase in English. So it looks very likely as if it's creating a negative phrase. In fact, the entire phrase by no means can be seen as having the impact of providing negation. Such as other phrases which would make something negative, for example, in no way or under no circumstances. So the effect of adenosine levels are being described as not being something rather than being something. And as we established talking earlier, this is a crucial difference, okay? So the phrase by no means the be-all and end-all is having a negative impact. It's saying that that adenosine levels are not something. So just understanding the fact that it has a negative meaning in this context is very important. So that's another aspect of working out what the function is of the phrase. Okay, so first of all, what other words is it qualifying? So in this case, it's talking about adenosine levels. It's providing more information about adenosine levels. And the second thing, is it positive or is it negative? It's negative because we've got the phrase by no means. Okay. So that's the second step in terms of working out what the phrase might mean. So tip number 3 is looking for connectors. So in terms of connectors, again, this is a really important thing in terms of working out contexts. So connectors are words or phrases which help to determine the relationship between sentences or clauses. If we can find a connector near our unknown phrase, then we can detect its relationship to a preceding or following phrase. So in the case above, we have the connector but at the beginning of the sentence, which is telling us that the information which will follow will contrast a perception which we may have developed from reading the text before this point. So let's have a look at the preceding sentence here then. What comes before the but in this case? And we can see it says Macaulay and colleagues found that infusing adenosine into rats' basal forebrain impaired their performance on an attention test, similar to that seen in sleep-deprived humans. So that was the preceding sentence. So we have information about the impact of adenosine. The contrast then comes by saying that adenosine levels are not the be-all and end-all of sleep deprivation's effects on the brain or body. So, okay, now we have a bit more context then. So, but we've got a contrast here, okay? They're not the be-all and end-all. So now we want just a little bit more information, and then we can decide what we think this means. With that little bit more information, we can then make a final decision as to what we think the meaning of the phrase could be. So the final tip here in terms of detecting meaning from context is that we have to follow the sentence. Okay, so that could involve following the sentence forwards, if that's going to help to provide more information, or it could even be involve following the sentence backwards as well, if that's what we need to do. We've already gone backwards in this case to find out what came before the connector, what came before the contrasting connector, which is but. So now we can go forwards in order to find out a little bit more information and then make a final decision as to the meaning of the phrase, by no means the be-all and end-all. So if we look at the sentence which follows, we should find some extra support. It says, over a century of sleep research has revealed numerous undesirable outcomes from staying awake too long. Okay, so here we are here. And I've just highlighted where it says numerous undesirable outcomes from staying awake too long. So I've added that emphasis because I think that is the phrase that really helps us to understand exactly then what by no means the be-all and end-all actually means. So let's see then here. So the key information, rather than adenosine levels being the be-all and end-all of sleep deprivation's effects on the brain or body, there are numerous undesirable outcomes from staying awake for too long. So from looking at the wider context of the text, we can see the contrast. If there are if there are numerous outcomes, that means that what is being stated is that adenosine levels are not the only outcome of sleep deprivation's effects. Therefore, our original phrase, by no means the be-all and end-all, essentially means not all of, or not the entirety of, the effects of sleep deprivation on the brain. Or, as the OET test puts it, it's stated as sleep deprivation has consequences beyond its impact on adenosine levels. Okay? That was the actual option in part C. We have A, B, C, and D. That was the option that we wanted. Sleep deprivation has consequences beyond its impact on adenosine levels, which is a paraphrase of saying what we were looking for at the beginning, the fact that adenosine levels are not or are by no means the be-all and end-all of sleep deprivation's effects on the brain or body. Okay, so in taking these steps then, what we've done is we've worked out what the meaning of the phrase is from the context. And so we should, if we're able to take these steps successfully, be able to answer the questions correctly in terms of what the meaning is of the particular word or phrase. Even if we weren't sure what the meaning was by itself, by looking at that wider context, then we should be able to make sense of the actual word or phrase. So there's quite a lot of information there. So it's worth having a bit of a summary just to see, again, what the main steps were. So the first one is in terms of the grammar. What's the grammar of the word or phrase? What other information is it qualifying? So remember, we worked out it was the object of the sentence and that it was qualifying adenosine levels. It was saying something about adenosine levels. So that was the first step. The second step was to work out whether the phrase was positive or negative, and we saw it used by no means. So using no is a way to make a noun phrase negative. So we worked out it was negative. Then we looked for connectors, and we saw that there was a contrasting connector with but. So it was obviously contrasting the information that came before it, which was talking about one of the effects of sleep deprivation on the brain. And then we followed the sentence, which talked about numerous undesirable outcomes. Okay, and by following the sentence and seeing it talked about numerous undesirable outcomes, we were able to see that the effects of sleep deprivation went beyond just adenosine levels reducing. So that was the way that we did it. So I'm well aware that there's a lot of information in there. There's quite a lot to take on board. So what I want us to do now is to put these steps into practice by having a look at another example. And this time, I'm going to let you guys lead the process, and I'll give some feedback in terms of how we do it. Okay? So let's do this. So the practice then. So have a look at the following sentence. Okay. So this is the sentence. We've got, this is because the body stops producing the appropriate levels of neurotransmitters that ADHD drugs replace, a trademark of addictive substances. So this is the sentence, and what we need to do now is to work out what is the meaning of the word trademark in this sentence. Okay, so the first thing to do, remember the first step, can you just remind me in the chat what the first step is if we're going to try and work out the meaning of a new word or phrase from context? What was step number 1? Okay, good. So Florette is saying grammar, as is Jaya is also saying grammar. And yeah, function, absolutely. Yeah, so the function, the grammar. Yeah, what role is the word trademark playing in this sentence? So what can you tell me then about the grammar of trademark in this case? So the first question that I've asked here is, what kind of word is it grammatically? Is it a verb, a noun, or an adjective? What do we think? Okay. So we've got its object. It's playing the object of the sentence. Yep, I think that's right. And also we've got Marie Vayara saying it's a noun in this case. So the word trademark is a noun. Let's just have a quick look at the Facebook group. So Nadia was talking about the function, and Mandran says it's a noun. Nodis, it's an object. So great, yes, playing the role as part of the object, and it is also a noun in this sentence. Good. So we know that the trademark then is a noun. So it's the name for something, but what could it be the name for? So let's have a look now at step number 2. What was step number 2? Can you remind me what step number 2 was? Just let me know in the chat again if you can remember what the next step was. We've worked out now it's a noun. It's the object, so it's saying a trademark of addictive substances, so it's a noun. And obviously, in this case, it says, if we look at the full sentence, this is because the body stops producing the appropriate levels of neurotransmitters that ADHD drugs replace, a trademark of addictive substances. So is this, what was step number 2? Can you let me know in the chat? Okay, good. So as I can see, a few are saying here, yes, so as Bolani is saying, it's to work out whether the actual sort of word is positive or negative, as says Jano as well, and Nilu. Okay, so is it positive or negative? So Nilu is saying that it's positive in this case. There's no example of negation. We don't have a no, we don't have a not. Do we agree with Nilu? Is this a positive word in this case? Yeah, Mandran thinks that it is positive. Any other comments here? Marigold also says positive. Let's see. Marie says it's negative because it's about the drug. Yeah, but we're not sort of working out, it's not a case of, is this something which is good or something that is bad? Now we're just looking at the structure. So is it something that is affirmative or is it something that is negative? And so in this case, we can say it's an affirmative sentence, or it's not a negative sentence, because there's no use of negation. There's no use of no, or no use of not, or anything of that nature. Okay, so it's affirmative in this case. Okay, it's not a negative sentence. Okay, so we know then that trademark is a noun. It's in an affirmative sentence, so it's saying that it's a trademark of addictive substances. So the next step, look at the sentence one more time. What connecting word or phrase is used? And what is the function of the connecting word or phrase? So can you let me know the answer to that question? Remember in the example we looked at, the connecting word was but, and the function of but was to provide a contrast. So what connecting word or phrase is used in this sentence, and what is the effect of this connecting word or phrase? So let's just see the responses that come up here. Okay, great. So quite a few of you identifying it. Tayaba, May, Sham, and Nonye, Sujan, Haziel, good. Yeah, Faiz, Jose, Vayar, almost all of you are saying because. Absolutely, and because is the connecting word or phrase, isn't it, in this case? A few of you were saying that. That's okay, so grammatically it is providing a certain amount of cohesion, but the connecting word or phrase I'm looking for is the one that expresses the meaning, the semantic meaning within the sentence. So yeah, the word is because in this case. Because it provides the meaning in terms of providing a connection between one part of the text and another part of the text. Okay, so it's because. What is the function of because in this sentence or in most sentences? What does because do? Remember, but provides a contrast. What does because do? Let's see what we think here. Okay, good. Yeah, so Haziel says giving a reason, and Iona says explains. Viada talks about the purpose. None to provide additional information or a reason. Yeah, lots of people here, Lishamol are saying reason. Absolutely, we're getting a reason for something, aren't we? So with because, we're getting a reason for something. So this is because the body starts producing the appropriate levels of neurotransmitters that ADHD drugs replace, a trademark of addictive substances. So the reason the body stops producing the appropriate levels of neurotransmitters the reason for something, we don't know what the previous sentence was, is because the body stops producing the appropriate levels of neurotransmitters. So the final step, if you remember then, was to follow the text, wasn't it? Remember, follow the text, which could be either forwards or backwards. But because the connector in the sentence is at the beginning and it says this is because, we want to know actually what was the previous sentence, because the previous sentence could really help us and give us that final bit of context in order to make sense of what the meaning of trademark actually is. So let's have a look then as a final step. So we're going to look now at the two sentences which come before our original sentence. How do they help us understand the meaning of the word trademark? So here are the sentences. So take a moment to read the sentences, and then I want you to tell me what you think the meaning of trademark is and how these sentences help you to understand the meaning of that word. So I'll just give you a few moments to do that. And obviously then I'll be looking at your responses once you have written them in the chat. So just to repeat, in this little paragraph here, then we've got part of a sentence and also a full sentence before our key sentence where the word trademark appears. So let's see, how does it help us to understand the meaning of the word trademark? Okay, so I'm going to have a look at your responses very soon. Okay, so let's see what we've got so far then in terms of responses. So let's see. Okay, so someone's saying, where is the question? So the question is on the screen right here. It's number 4. look at the two sentences which come before our original sentence. How do they help us to understand the meaning of the word trademark? That is the question. So have a look at this paragraph in order to answer that question. So again, then let's see what some of the responses are. So we've got so Nilu is saying seeking an increased dosage, and Faiz is talking about neurotransmitters. Jose determining a particular substance. Sujewa talks about a marker of addiction. Okay, very nice. And then Lou talks about trademark of an addictive substance. Okay, so addiction is clearly a key part of this. So I'll just give you a few more moments just to see if any other responses come in. And also as well, remember, how did these two sentences help to make sense of the meaning of this particular word? Okay. Naj is talking about increased dosages. Let's have a quick look on Facebook. So Victor says it isn't rare, it's common. Okay, so yeah, we're pretty good here in terms of our suggestions. Okay, so as I say, keep your responses coming in, and we're going to go through the answers in just a minute. So keep sending me your responses. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sort of bring up the four options in terms of trademark, and looking at those four options, we can decide which one we think is actually the correct answer. Okay, so I'm going to do that in just a moment. As I bring it up, as I say, keep sending me your responses, and we can see how similar some of them are, and how close we get to the final response. Okay. Okay then. So right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to so just stop that share for a moment. I'm going to share the screen with the original question, and I just want you to have a look at the options, and I want you to tell me which one is correct. Okay, so it is question 21, which we can see here, and I'll just increase the size so we can all see it really clearly. So question 21, what are we talking about here then? So looking at that context, A, B, C, or D, are we talking about a physiological reaction, a substitute medication, a need for research, or are we talking about a common request? So what do we think? Okay, so Sada is saying B, Vayara is A, May is B, Nilu is B, Ali is saying A, Maria is saying A, Aisha is saying A. Okay, so a lot of A coming in. Atiya is saying A. Some are saying B as well. So we're a bit split over A or B. Are we talking about a physiological reaction, or are we talking about a substitute medication? It's either A or B. Okay, so we're not talking about C or D. No one is saying C or D, at least not on the Zoom chat. Let's just have a quick look at the Facebook chat and see what's coming in here. I've got Angel who's saying D. We've got Danica saying A. Victor is saying A. Maria is saying A as well. So okay, so A is the most popular response. Alicia, Lena also saying A. Okay, so well done to all of you who did say A, which is the majority of you. That is the reference of the word trademark in this context is a physiological reaction. Okay, and if we just quickly go back to what we were looking at previously in terms of our presentation, we can see how these sentences help us. So what we've got here then is a wider context for the word trademark. It shows that the information being given is a quotation. So it's a quotation from some kind of researcher or medical practitioner. More importantly, it demonstrates that the focus of the quotation is to provide information as to how ADHD medication acts as an addictive substance by having a physiological impact on the patient in a similar manner to other stimulant medications. So that was the point, wasn't it? It was the physiological impact that it has. And the physiological impact is the fact that it decreases their powers of concentration diminish. So something physiological, something happening within the body. And as a result, and obviously the reason for this is because it stops producing the appropriate levels of neurotransmitters. So again, this is something you can see physically within the body. The number of neurotransmitters reduces, and this is a trademark of addictive substances. So it's talking about that physiological reaction. Okay, so that is what the context provides us with. Now, I'm conscious that there's quite a lot of information in this presentation, and there's quite a lot to think about. So I urge you to review this. And also, this is a technique which you should be using in your preparation for the exam. So, of course, using it for these specific questions in Part C, but also if you find other words in parts A and B, or in your reading preparation in general that you're not sure of the meaning of, you can use some of these strategies to help you try and make sense of new words. So it's a way of sort of improving your ability to make sense of reading texts in general. So this isn't just about reading Part C. It's tested directly in the OET and reading Part C, but you can use this more generally as well. So do review this video again. Like I said, there's a lot of information that we looked at, and do try and put some of these techniques into practice as a way to try and improve your reading skills, because ultimately it is important that you start using skills in order to improve your reading. It's not just about practice. Practice is one thing, but it's how you practice, and it's about how you use strategies in order to help you improve. So so do have a go at this at home as part of your development and as part of your preparation for moving forward with the OET. Okay, so so Chris is just asking me to put up a slide of the technique. So yeah, I will just put up the slide of the summary one more time so you can have a look. As I say, I do also encourage you to review this again. The video will be made available to you to watch, to rewatch if there's anything here which you would like to cover again. And as I say, there was quite a lot of information, so I would recommend doing that. So I'll just bring up the slide now. Okay, and so the summary was, remember, first step, detect the grammar or detect the function of the word or phrase in the sentence. The second step, determine whether the phrase is positive or negative. The third step, look for connectors, because connectors are really important in terms of the context of the phrase, and then follow the sentence. So it might be that the previous sentence is what gives you the real key as to the meaning of the word, or it might be that the subsequent sentence is what gives you the key. So those are the 4 steps summarized. But as I say, do review the video so you can see again how we put that into practice, and give it a go yourselves in order to try and improve your reading skills in terms of making more sense of new words and phrases that you will encounter in text. And you're always going to encounter new words and phrases within the OET, because it's obviously a high level exam. So so do give it a go. Okay, so the answers are on the screen here, which is what we've already discussed. And so it just remains for me then to just remind you, for those of you who are part of Swoosh programs, who are thinking, those of you who might be thinking of joining us at Swoosh and taking advantage of some of the programs that we have to offer, let me just share with you what we do have available here at Swoosh English, and some of the opportunities that exist in terms of getting more practice and getting more feedback and getting more assistance in terms of improving and in terms of having success in your OET journey. So here we are. These are the packages that we have available, and you can see there are a number of different packages depending on the sort of support that you are looking for, and how much time and effort you are willing and able to devote to your dreams of becoming a doctor or nurse or medical practitioner in countries such as the United Kingdom or around the world. So you've got your starter package, which starts at $49, and you can see here what is involved in terms of video courses, the model answer bank with letters, corrected letters as well, which you will have access to, and those happen from Monday to Thursday. I'm one of the people that gets involved in letter correction, so there's lots of opportunities there, and it goes all the way to our premium package, to all the way up to our VIP package as well, where you'll get even more attention and you'll get access to more of our services. So do have a look at that, and as I say, please do review the video, please share the video if you're on Facebook, and thank you all for your attention. So until next time, take care.